And this is where we got to so far with the intercooler. So already taken the bar off. It was, because it's bare aluminium, it was horribly corroded and had all this white furry powder and shit all over it. So last thing you want when you're dicking around with stuff that's going to get sucked in the engine or blown into the engine is to have a whole bunch of crusty sort of oxidization just roaming about. So I did my best, took it off, sanded it down, got rid of all that shit, and now I've painted it in just some etch primer and then some satin black on top, because we all know satin black's the best for all this sort of stuff. As you can see, this has got 3 sort of box sections in it. And obviously that is good for strength, and also I think it's to help sort of material flow when this is extruded, because obviously this is an extruded section and then it's bent into shape, or formed into shape, should I say. Box sections are nice and strong, which is why it helps with sort of rigidity and everything. So the size of my intercooler, what I did was I basically cut through the bottom 2 sections, but wanted to leave the top box intact, so there's still... So kept that as a box section, and the intercooler is going to stick out the bottom a bit, which is why we're going to end up driving around a bit like a VL turbo. So if you guys know what that is in your country, I'm sure you'll have seen them. So yeah, we've got some bumper chopping to do, but to get all this stuff in the right place and the pipes through, what I've had to do is obviously delete the headlamp washers. So I've taken them out of the bumper already, and this was the feed to them. So I've just used one of the pipes that was in the feed for the headlamp washers and then blocked it off with a plastic thing I had, and relocated the outside air temp sensor up here. The loom originally comes round here and sort of clips on underneath, but that was going to be in the way obviously, so I've moved that and then put it up through here, so still out the front of the car, so it should still get the same decent readings for that. This used to be part of the air conditioning. I think that was the pressure sensor wire, I think, that used to go here when it had aircon, which has been deleted. I've also relocated the power steering cooler. It's a simple tube one, so it's not too hard. Essentially, this originally sits in front, so it sits in front and this loop goes around the front of the bonnet catch steady. But yeah, basically flip the brackets round, so instead of turning them out this way and holding it over here, flip them round, bolted it back on. I did have to manipulate this. Again, this stuff's quite soft. It's almost like brake line material. So I very gently sort of teased it and tweaked it, and even though it's quite crusty, that's bent. And now it fits behind there, so that's all good. Today we're going to concentrate on the intercooler. So we've got nutserts in the top already on the back of this. There are a couple in there from factory, but they don't obviously line up with my intercooler bosses, and I didn't want to make wacky brackets, so put another couple in next to those at the right centres for me. And the lower mounts just sort of have to go underneath. And thankfully, Toyota have provided a whole bunch of holes here, and I just picked up on a couple of those holes, and they did actually line up quite well with the brackets. So yeah, we'll get that mounted, and then we'll start making the hot side pipe, I think, because obviously that's going to be the shorter one to the turbo. So yeah, intercooler's mounted. Went with the eBay special as always. So it's 63 or sort of 2.5 inches thick on the core, 220mm high and 550mm long for the core as well. So by my calculations, that's kind of good for at least 300 horsepower, perhaps more, but you can get the smaller intercoolers that basically do fit under the bumper, but from what I can work out, if you ignore the sort of manufacturer's wildly sort of overinflated claims, you can they're not really big enough to do the job, and would suffer quite badly from heat soak. But yeah, decided to go with this one, which does mean we're gonna have to chop the bumper as well, but it's a fairly decent size, so went with that one. It's not too bad at the moment, so we've gone for a 63 reducer down to 51, and we're currently going around the side with a 90-degree 51mm, which is 2-inch, and that disappears off into there. Currently a bit too long, but I don't want to chop it because I'm waiting for another silicone to arrive. And out of the turbo, so from the turbo we're going with a 45-degree silicone, which I've chopped down as much as I need to. That drops in there, comes off the bottom of the turbo. Obviously the turbo outlet's 2-inch or 51mm, and then that will then come across over the top of the oil return hose that goes down the sump, which we then go on to another 45 alloy there. So that comes around and straightens us up and puts us roughly in the ballpark of the other end of that 90 there. The weird thing is the join between those two is going to be a 30-degree bend, and they're quite hard to find in silicon bends. There's only like one company I found that makes anything other than 45. So, and if I did a 45, that pushes all the pipes too far back. And then the join would be a lot further back here, and you've got to be careful that obviously the wheel and tyre, when that turns in on full lock, you're going to end up in that area, whereas coming forwards with a 30-degree brings me with the bend of it about here, and so there's plenty of room in there to swing the tyres in and everything, so that's cool. So we're kind of stuck now until we get that in the post, but so then that just leaves us with this little monkey. So this is just a piece of straight pipe, 65mm long, with a couple of very faint beads rolled on it. This obviously comes out of the turbo, and there's about 30 odd mil or so actually clamped on the turbo. And obviously this is one of those pipes where it's almost too long to leave alone without cutting and putting an alloy pipe in, but also at the same time it's not really worth bothering because you'll end up with about that much pipe showing. So what I've decided to do is leave the thing whole, rather than add extra joins in, which could obviously be a failure point. I'm just going to jam that down inside there, so that is going to stiffen up the wall of this so it's a bit less floppy. So the last bend's turned up, so this is obviously 30-degree silicon, 51mm to match the rest of the alloy pipe work. So yeah, that's pretty cool. They were the only company to do a 30-degree, I think, that I could find, and I think it's an extra ply as well, so it's super quality, this JS Performance stuff. I'm really happy with it. Managed to use up 4 or 5 of these dumbass clamps. I mean, I know people like them for like high boost applications, but this is not a high boost application. And at the end of the day, they are so bulky. They're like twice the size and width of these clamps. And yeah, I use them when I have to, but yeah, I much prefer these clamps, certainly for this application, which is barely going to see more than a bar of boost, you know, on a good day. So that's that. So we're all finished. We'll just have a quick overview of it. So we've obviously got the reducer here from the outlet, so 63 down to 51, then 51 alloy 90, 30-degree silicon into a 45-degree alloy going up there, which thankfully manages to miss not only the anti-roll bar pivot here, the oil drain from the turbo, the power steering return line that goes next to it, and yeah, the actuator boost source hose, and that goes up into another 45-degree silicon off the turbo. And that, as we'll remember from earlier on, has a little alloy section of liner in it just to stop that big long straight section being too floppy. So yeah, so I've made a start on the cold side intercooler pipe as well. So coming out of the throttle, that's about 63mm or 2.5 inch. So this is a 63mm alloy pipe, and what I've done here is same way I did the Starlet. Basically, I've put the rubber bush or the rubber bung that was in the airbox over there, took that out, squashed this to have a flat on it, and then drilled a hole in, put the rubber boss in there, and I've got this little metal plate on this side. So the little metal plate sits over the head of the intake air temp sensor, and then I clamped it round with these 2 big cable ties. If you want to see how I did it in detail, I've got a video for when I did the exact same thing on the Starlet. I'll put a link in the description and stuff for you below, because obviously you need to have the intake air temp sensor in there, and if you're using the stock Lexus or Toyota ECU to run your engine, it's going to be expecting that particular signal that's calibrated for whatever sort of in degrees temperature versus resistance that sensor particularly gives out. So I've got a whole video literally dedicated on how to do that. But it worked well last time. It doesn't leak, and you don't have to weld anything either. So it's really quite an important thing, and I think it's quite a neat solution. So like I said, check that video out if you need detail. But either way, that's in there now. So we've got that in. Nice bit of sort of length left on the wiring as well. So that's cool. Cable tied that on. The thing that no one really tells you is to get this to work and the bonnet to shut without smashing and squashing stuff, is you have to move this wiring loom. It seems pretty obvious when you're doing it, but so the wiring loom comes out of the fuse box there with the ECU in it, and then goes round, and normally it bolts on up here, but obviously that won't work. There's a whole bunch of stands and little metal brackets and stuff and clamps and clips that hold the wiring loom down. So what I've done is I've removed all of that all the way up to the fuse box, because what I've had to do is obviously tuck the wiring loom from here down backwards through into this gap, which then allows this to go low enough so this pipe can sit low enough, otherwise it hits on the bonnet. So all of that is very important, otherwise you can't really get this pipe to work. This pipe is actually 120 degrees. Now, some people say if you use 135, the 135 degree one ends up coming up and over here, and it's such a tight angle, it ends up going through here, and it can kind of get pinched and squashed, and it wasn't my favourite. I tried a 90 on it. So obviously if you use a 90, what happens is, as you pull down on the front of it, it pulls down the tube, which then squashes the rubber at the back over the top of the throttle body. It doesn't like clamp it down fully closed, but it does sort of pancake it a bit. What I found was I tried the 90 and I tried the 135, and they were both less than perfect, shall I say. So I put the 120 in there, and that literally comes up and over. It misses the bonnet, so it clears the bonnet here with the 120 degree. With this pushed fully down, and that's sort of chopped as low as it can be, this also is now underneath the top part of the dipstick, and then that comes around here, and then we're going to go down with like a 45 or something down through this gap here. But that's how you start it. So I found that 120 was a lot better than the other two, and you defo have to move this, otherwise you're not going to get anywhere near it. So that's where I've gone with that. But yeah, I'll go get some more pipes and stuff, and we'll end up going through here and trying to join up to this side, I guess. Okay, so you join me as we board the struggle bus. I've managed to remember how I made this cold side intercooler pipe, which obviously YouTube isn't necessarily filmed in order, and I managed to make this thing about 4 months ago, because at the end of the day the intercooler doesn't move, the throttle body doesn't move, so that was one pipe I could do before I even had enough bits to make the turbo manifold. So yeah, I finally managed to remember the conundrum that was. So obviously we're out of here on the 120 degree 63, then another 63 mil straight, 63 to 51 45 degree, which I've cut down. Then we've got an alloy 45 degree here that goes to a straight coupler, and the straight coupler then goes underneath here to a 90 degree bend, and then the 90 degree comes around to a silicon 45, and then another alloy 90 into our reducer, obviously 51 to 63 mil. Most of this stuff's from auto silicon hoses, they make good quality stuff. So yeah, we're round there, and now we're at to the point where we're trying to stop it smashing itself to pieces on the alternator, essentially. So what I've got is obviously the bracket to tension the alternator is down there, hiding down in there, and it's got like a flat surface and this giant massive M8 bolt here that you use to tension it. So what I've done is taken that out and then finagled this horrific monstrosity that used to be an angle bracket for fencing, which just happened to have some lying around, so I thought, well, I'll just chuck that in there and bend it up and see what we end up with. Yeah, gonna bugger about with this for a bit more. I may, if this doesn't work, I may just end up putting like a metal L bracket off it. So yeah, it doesn't need to be the most sturdy of things. All it's got to do is basically stop it flapping around while you're driving and basically smashing itself to pieces on the sharp alternator bracket that's already there. So yeah, I'll figure this out, and then I'll pick you guys up when it's done, because you don't need to see me swearing at a bracket. See you in a sec. And we're all sorted. So after a bit of head scratching, I chucked away the old one and just made a simple bracket. All it is just an L-shaped bracket, comes up and then across behind the pipe. You can see the other side of it here. That's just basically got a rubber dip mold on it, or a PVC dip mold on it, and that essentially just allows that to sort of rest against it. Just going to stick a cable tie over the front just to stop it sliding about too much. So I mean, from the point of the throttle body down to there isn't really going to move much anyway, because obviously that's fixed to the engine, but from here downwards is now obviously sort of fixed to the intercooler, so that's going to need to have some sort of flex in it, obviously, when the engine rocks. So yeah, much happier now. The frustrating thing is the only way to tighten that bolt is to shove your hand down in here, and you end up scratching your arm to pieces on the end of that box. So yeah, managed to regather my composure and wondering what all the fuss was about. So yeah, that's all sorted. Okay, so now we've got the intercooler piping done for the cold and hot side. We need to obviously do the rest of the job, which is to chop back all of the splash guards and under trays and the bumper as well. That's going to need a hack, so I'll carry on with that, and I'll see you guys in a sec. Okay, bumper's done. So obviously the grill's come out. I've also chopped out this piece here with a number plate, and I'm going to stick my number plate off here to the side So that way we've got more cooling effect going through the core. It wasn't too bad really. Obviously this is thinned down. This is how thick it used to be. Obviously it's about 25 mil, and now I think we're down to about 10 mil in the corners, and that obviously clears. Had to take all the mesh out and everything. I was 50-50 as to whether I took the entire sort of lower bar out, but then I thought it might look a bit goofy, like it was driving around with like a moustache on or something. So I don't know, I'm going to leave that in there, but I'm worried it's going to start flapping in the middle because it is quite flimsy now. I've had to take the majority of the lower lip off at the back in these sort of two areas here to clear the core. So yeah, we're going to see how that goes. If it starts to sort of flap around, I can put a little brace across and underneath, but that's fine. Obviously this is the under tray, so on the back of the bumper where we've chopped off all of the tabs, because that's where the intercooler is now, there was like this big sort of bow shaped piece, so I've had to hack that off as well. But we're left with this row here. Obviously we've got 3 screws here now, and all the ones down the side still on both sides, so that should be fine. It's covered up the majority of the underneath of the engine still. Then moving around to the sides, obviously we got the sort of like wheel splash guards, and there's like an inner one as well. There's like another inner guard in here, which I've had to chop as well, because obviously the pipe's coming back and then going through at that angle. So that was pretty easy to do, just hole saws and angle grinders, just cutting stuff up. So that was cool. Fairly similar story on the other side. This pipe's obviously slightly different and tucks back at a tighter angle because we're coming up right behind the rad, whereas on the other side we're going diagonally back to the midpoint of the engine where the turbo is basically. So this didn't need quite as much hacking off of it. So yep, same deal, but I didn't have to chop the inner guard or anything, so that's cool. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much the end of it for the intercooler. Only one more thing left to do, and that's chuck the Det 3 in it, but that'll be coming up on next week's episode. Thanks ever so much for watching, boys and girls, as always. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Have a good one.